Okay, I'm just gonna start recording, and this is what's gonna be shared.
Yeah.
Can Discord see me?
Yeah.
There's no equivalent.
Yes, we can.
You just have
Oh,
to text.
okay. Now I can show you my dog. Baby. Baby, breakfast. Ahí está. Ahí te libre.
I mean, there is,
Baby,
I guess, actually, so it's like.
Come
I
in.
guess
I'm
it's
sorry. I'm sorry.
maybe
Ahí te libre.
or something
Come in.
like
Come in.
that.
Yes,
Because
yes, yes.
legit-
Okay, you can kind of see him. There you go. Ain't gonna. Okay,
Like a
he
sort of
doesn't want to look
salt.
at you guys. Sorry.
In the white space.
Okay,
Yeah,
go away,
you
baby.
get that.
Good boy.
Well,
He's
and,
having his good
and
boy
I mean,
treats.
So there's the tokenizers. are
Okay, everybody.
huge.
Nice, thank you.
Of course. He is very happy to be here. He's having his candy right now. So he's kind of like, why are you making me jump up? I don't want to. I want to just chew on the candy. Okay. It's recording. It's showing. Don't mess. Okay. We're good. I'm good on here. We're finally doing this. Okay. Please let me know if there are any issues. I'm going to be on Discord, you guys. How dare you?
No,
Speak up, teacher.
How? Oh yeah. Don't take a picture of me, but yeah, you can take a picture of that any day.
You're on the screen anyways.
I mean, I'm not sure how joking that is, but I've met people who've
I can see
legitimate
from
fear of
there.
retaliation in their departments, like in bioinformatics and stuff,
Yes.
and academics, because they're speaking out against the use of AI in their departments.
Oh no, that's not what this
That's
is.
crazy.
No, I know.
Oh, okay,
I know.
okay.
I'm
It's-
just saying that it's like, you may be joking about getting your picture taken with something that dares to question the hegemony, the grand superiority of AI, but that is a legitimate concern for some people.
I do understand that,
Yeah.
you know, I do understand. But no.
Do you have Discord playing?
No, I don't.
Okay. Good.
Hey guys, I'm live on my YouTube channel.
Unsubscribe.
No, I'm not. Okay. This is how all the cool streamers do it, okay? I gotta keep that in mind. Alright, I'm gonna just have that up there so I'm not staring at it the whole time, but I wanna know if anything goes wrong. Okay. Everything's good to go. We are gonna get started. So, you guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's gonna piss me off. How do I...
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
A friend
Okay,
of mine
is my voice coming
put it very
through?
well, which is that it's
Okay,
not
this is perfect. We are ready to go. I'm gonna get started. Alright, so today I'm just gonna go over like AI risk management. Should I like announce it out there as well? In case anyone's like, we're still having issues. Sorry, 1 second. We'll be right back. I wanna keep Discord included.
I'm just saying you've been saying you're gonna start for the last 20 minutes.
I told you.
Okay, if anyone's interested, jump right in or just watch us on Discord. Thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry. We took so long, my dog is done with his treats. So, yeah. He is like literally done. All right, so we're gonna get started with risk management framework. So what this is pretty much with NIST, if you guys are familiar with NIST. If not, we will go over it. But NIST has a great playbook. So it's the AI RMF playbook, and I love it. It's like 147 pages, so I figured I would save you that time, and I would just go over it as a presentation. And I have also researched, oh, perfect. I've also researched some other organizations and some of the other helpful documentation that they have. So I kind of try to put it all together, make it easy to understand, make it thorough enough for managers and executives and other decision makers. So you're welcome to take pictures of this, but keep in mind that on Discord it is being streamed, and also this is probably going to be on YouTube. That's why I cared about, you know, all that. So, all right, let's get started. Okay. As you guys know, those who are here and those who are on Discord, thank you guys for being here, by the way. Please donate to 801 Labs. Any amount really helps. And then this is about me. So that's my LinkedIn right there. I don't know why I'm pointing. I can just go like this. This is my LinkedIn. So if you guys want to connect, if you guys want to follow, let me know. You can also DM me messages on there. I don't have any restrictions set up. And if I ignore you, I'm sorry. That's not intentional. It's just, I just have to get back through all the messages. All right, so for this, what you can expect for this presentation is how to assess AI solutions, how to manage the risks, and some best practices. We're also gonna go over some technical portions of it that I call oopsies. So that's also gonna be helpful for people to learn from other people's mistakes. All right. So by asking the right questions, this is going to be the goal of the whole point of why we're doing risk management with AI, right? A lot of us use AI, if not everybody here uses AI on some capacity. So why are we even doing this presentation? Well, this is why. By actually having a risk management framework or by asking the right questions, you can increase the trustworthiness, the responsibility of the AI practices as far as like ethics and stuff. You can mitigate any kind of liability for the organization, like reputation and stuff like that as well, you know, like financial damages, the reputation of the company, and internal culture, I guess what I could say. But we're going to get through all of this later, but you guys can go ahead and read through this as well. I am sorry for the typo here. That is very unprofessional. Okay, moving on. These are some of the greatest resources that I found and incorporated them into my presentation. If you would like to go through it, here's what I recommend, especially those of you sitting in the back. You could, because if you just hold up your phone to this, I don't know which link it's going to show you, so you could zoom in. And once you've zoomed in, you can actually select which QR codes you want to zoom into. The other cool thing is this is going to be online, so I will share these on Discord after the presentation. That way you guys can actually have these links and look through all the documents, most of the documents that I looked through if you guys are interested. But yeah, these are very reputable organizations and reputable, well-researched kind of documentation, so I can very confidently tell you to, you know, go and read them, and they're going to be helpful for sure. All right, some of the definitions, and as you guys are reading through this, keep in mind that today I'm not going to go over what an LLM is, how the technical aspects of AI works, like the different like stages of training and all that. That's not what this is. This is going to be like an executive summary more or less, and so that you can have the information and you can use them in your teams or organization. So you don't have to know what an LLM is. We're not even going to get into that today. But yeah, these are some of the helpful definitions. I would say that you should take an image, a screenshot of these, and that'll help. Yes?
What is LLM?
Large
No,
language.
it's okay.
Oh.
Because you said you're not gonna know what LLM is.
Yeah, I went through some of that documentation to actually like figure out the specifics of it, but that's what a software engineer would have to concern themselves with. My specialty has been like a lot of like InfoSec and like GRC and stuff, so I'll let the software engineers worry about what an LLM is, you know?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But we are gonna sort of talk about it, but we're not gonna focus on it today. So yeah, we're gonna get into AI risk framework. These are some of the technical oopsies that I mentioned. So with Copilot, there was a problem where, well, it's been going on for a while. It's not one isolated problem. The issue with Copilot is that a lot of the technical staff weren't actually setting it up properly. So what would happen is people could access all the HR documentation, including other employees' raises and salaries and all that. So that caused a little internal oopsie, is what I call it. So these are some of the good cases that we can really learn from, and we can kind of see how they messed up so we can make sure that we don't mess up. Yes?
So the Apple BBC one, they actually summarized the opposite of the headline. So the headline said, "This is true." The AI summarized it as, "This is false."
Oh.
That's why it was such a big stink.
I felt like I did see a similar story to that though, but instead of BBC, it was the New York Times where they where it did. I'm not sure it was Apple though. It might have been. I think that might have been actually ChatGPT.
You know what's interesting about this one? I went through MIT Tech Review, and they're usually very like on point and stuff. So
well, there might have been more than one. This one happened like 3 weeks ago.
That's where you know the CEO that was killed. So this headline is about that one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So with this one, I went through Tech Review that is like by MIT. So I was like, cool. I know they do their research. I know they do their stuff correctly. The problem is when I actually took an excerpt and tried to like change the keywords to find the article, I only found one article. and this is the link that you're seeing up there. So it was strange to me that there wasn't more news coverage for it. I even did the quotation marks to, you know, Google dork a little, and I was very surprised that I couldn't find it. But it's, you know, it's Tech Review, so I figured that it is very accurate, and I'll leave it on there. What is that alarm?
A line scooter crying for help.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Discord. I thought I was hearing an alarm and I didn't know if it was a ringtone or not. That would be a cool ringtone though. Alright. So, an oopsie with chatbots was Air Canada. So, a customer pretty much went on the website to go through their chatbot, and kind of typed in, you know, like, they were looking for a policy, and apparently the chatbot said that, you know, the Air Canada chatbot was like, yeah, this is the policy, go review it, and like, this is what the policy says with it. The funny thing is, as far as I read on this, this actually went to court, and the court ruled that, well, in Canada, one of the, I think Supreme Court of them or something, I don't know, one of the courts in Canada ruled that, like, bots, like AI has their own legal entity, so Air Canada is not liable, which was hilarious to me. So yeah, we want to be careful about that. Okay, indicators of a high-risk AI system. The reason why I have it here is because if I say risk in AI, a lot of people can't really define that. So I hope these examples help on here. With this last one, with safety indicator, I know you can't read it, but I will get to it for sure. Okay, so for one of the way that you know that an AI contains risk is if it's used to profile a group or people or something like that. A lot of organizations are actually now using AI, which, you know, it has mixed feelings. Like, organizations are using it, companies are using it, people don't like it for obvious reasons. But financial sector, they're using it. For auto loans, they're using it. So if it's profiling, if it's saying this person is gonna not get this loan or whatever, of course, in a situation like that, your AI contains risk. So you have to be careful about, you know, you have to really have good eyes on it, like from people that actually know how to do the risk management and how to like work in AI system. Another cool thing is if a system is specialized and has a very, very tiny function, then it does also contain risk. Some of the issues are, well, some of the tasks are traffic prediction, trading, threat detection. For example, CrowdStrike has a great threat detection application, and so that's going to be considered in specialized kind of software. The other one is any kind of third-party AI product. Wait, why?
Oh, I constantly am basically giving false positives to CrowdStrike or like the Cloudflare.
Yeah.
Anytime, because I use a VPN constantly when I'm on the internet, so it just depends on like your level of security and stuff like that too.
Yeah, and see, that's another concern. Like with a lot of these applications, another concern is the usability of them.
Because there's a huge bias in the AI system.
I swear. And so that's part of the stuff that we're going to be discussing today, because when AI started, even to this point, like AI is not even new. It's been going on for decades. It's not even like a 2020 kind of thing. It didn't start with ChatGPT, and that's what a lot of people are missing. So when the AI boom, the recent boom started, the funny thing for me is that all these companies rushed to say, yes, we are thinking about the future, we are very forward, we have AI systems. But the fact is that I don't think a lot of them, not even half of them, spent quite enough time understanding the risks and making sure that it is actually like a fit with their model and with their values and everything. I think they just wanted to be AI positive so much that they even hired people that didn't really know how AI worked. So what you're describing, the user experience, yeah, like I would say, yeah, I don't want to say it on camera, but yeah, it's been a headache for me because I also use a VPN and I don't like how AI treats me just because I use a VPN. So yeah, but then again, the funny thing is these precautions aren't made for like technical people. It's typically, you know, we're not gonna get into that, but yes, it's been a little bit frustrating dealing with AI at times. But yeah, by now I'm sure you guys have read all of them. The safety indicator, so typically this is also like kind of understanding what a risk is, like that's present in your situation. So for example, when you're driving a Tesla, right? You could say that a safety indicator would be an AI embedded in the car, so that way it can let you know about like the maintenance stuff or even the autopilot stuff, anything that has anything to do with security. So you want to also keep that in mind. But I would say this is a good all-in-one kind of document all-in-one kind of screenshot to let you guys know about what risks are inherently available in AI systems, if it does any of these things. All right, this is directly from NIST. So what we're gonna cover is just the governance of it. I did want to go into all the specifics of manage, map, and measure, but that was gonna take a while. The documents that I reviewed added up to like 300 pages from different sources. So today I'm gonna cover governance generally, and if you guys do want me to focus on any specific topics, at the end there is gonna be a link. So please do let me know. I do want your feedback. As we're going through this, please collect your feedback so you can send them to me later so I can make the next presentation even better. All right, so what governance entails? By the way, there's going to be 2 of these, and I will also cover this development section right over here so that you guys can also see it, because I know my face is covering it. So governance is going to be legal compliance and regulatory and best practices, internal controls. So pretty much what steps has the organization taken, or what steps have the executives taken to make sure that this is going to be matching their values and their mission and everything like that, So user accessibility as well as the user friendliness, I would say that's an internal control. Somebody should have gone through that and made sure that it was, that the customer experience was actually proper with something like this. Risk tolerance, continuous monitoring, termination, and development. So these are just 6 of the topics that we're going to discuss on this, but there's so much later on. So with legal compliance, what I wanted to kind of mention is there are some, like for example ISO, as well as there's the EU AI Act, which hasn't been enacted yet, but it is in the works. They're hoping to get it done by 2026. But there is a lot of compliance that goes into like specific detail and specific security controls that you have to have ready. So the last audit that I did, we didn't talk about AI, so I don't have any information on that, which is a little concerning to me. But it, like even the basic stuff like GDPR does contain AI verbiage. And what you guys should realize is that, excuse me, just because the regulatory body or the whatever audit you're doing, even if it's with the IRS or something, even if it's it doesn't have anything to do with the EU or anything like that, what you have to realize is just because it doesn't talk about AI specifically, if it mentions risks and stuff, which that's what they're made for, all of them mention risk, you have to make sure that these controls and everything are included in there. So you have to be able to define what the different procedures are and processes are. So yeah, so legal compliance, you have to worry about non-discrimination, so the bias, addressing the bias, data privacy of users. We all know of way too many situations where AI takes our information and does whatever with it, so the transparency with it is very low and users don't like it. Well, the users that actually understand the ramifications don't like it. A lot of people are just happy that ChatGPT tells them a joke, and that's concerning. And security controls, just like I said. And then internal controls. If you're a manager, if you're a decision maker, if you're an executive, you want to make sure there's a clear chain of command. And I'm going to get into the different roles and the responsibilities and positions. But you have to make sure that, for example, if I have an AI issue, who do I go to? Or if there is an AI problem generally, who's notified about it? Who is in charge of fixing it? It's not always the same person, so you guys have to establish that or urge your managers and executives and stuff to actually think about stuff like this, because not that many companies are actually. Clearly define AI definitions and use cases so that your employees as well as your team actually know what they can use AI for. So for example, I used for government, and over there everybody was using ChatGPT, and everybody is an overgeneralization, but a lot of people were using ChatGPT, which in a government,
all the government data.
Exactly. And so they thought that, oh, it's popular enough, it's secure. And unfortunately, it's not always secure. So
Well, even if it's secure, the fact that it's a government entity using it, you're giving out data to the corporation.
Exactly.
OpenAI.
And worse yet, some of that information can like leak out there, which there are cases of it as well. So employees weren't really aware; they were just using ChatGPT and stuff. So that was a concern. So that's why you have to clearly outline what are the use cases. Yes, we have AI. What can you use it for? And then you actually have to train your employees. You can't just hand them that. We're all technical people here. We all know how to figure stuff out. But what I see, even in something as basic as the Office products, like Microsoft Office products, people use it for what they use it for. They often don't know what else they can use it for. So even if your employees are all wonderful and they don't, pose any risk by using AI, you should still tell them all the capabilities of it so they can actually be more productive and happier, Risk mapping. Risk mapping is, anyone familiar with GRC and stuff actually knows how to properly risk map. And I think I have a slide on the details of it later, but that's another internal control. Executives and managers actually have to sit down and establish all of these. Incident response, of course, AI plays into it now. And the third-party systems. So for example, if a third-party system stops working, what are you gonna do? So in case of a bank, if they're relying on a third-party system, third-party AI system, to actually let them know if a person who's taken out a loan is high risk or whatever, if their third-party system stops working, are they just gonna give everybody loans? Are they gonna give nobody loans? For how long is it gonna be down? Who knows? So that's another thought as well. Yes.
I actually have something to add on that. I know that there are, just another example, but I know that there are companies that will do, not sure what the term for it is, but essentially go back and check, much like with the loan history, check people's rent history at, so like if they want to rent a new apartment, the new apartment will go to this company, say, hey, we want you to run not a full background check, but like a tenant history on this person, and they'll use AI as a part of that process to contact people and such, and get that information in. And so very much in the same way that if your AI is not acting as you expect necessarily, when it comes to loans in the case of a bank, it could also, and same thing with it being down especially, that's, in my opinion, with the rental thing, just as bad, if not worse, just because you're at that point potentially depriving people of housing.
Exactly, and that's been in the news as well. A big giant situation of it is the proxy bias, is what they call it. So pretty much when you have all these different elements and all these different fields that you're looking at about a person, because nobody can be summarized into data, Maybe if you have enough data, sure, but what they were looking at is, for example, one of the biggest things is zip code. So if you're trying to see if someone's high risk, a lot of times that zip code, that's a big bias against them. And it's not always an accurate situation, but proxy bias is another thing that people have to be aware of. What I kind of imagine for the future is that there's going to be all these companies, probably maybe 3 or 4 huge tech companies, and they're going to have their LLMs ready to go. And so they're going to say, oh, you would like an AI solution to do blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can develop it. We're going to provide you with the LLM. So that's another thing that made me want to have this presentation for you guys, because if that situation happens, first of all, LLMs are very expensive. So by having these few companies that already have the data trained and ready to go, and you can just take it and do whatever with it, that's going to be very convenient. So I definitely think of that as a future. But the other issue is going to be exactly like you said, bias, right? If you're taking their training data, you need to know all these different specifics, and we're going to get into that, trust me. You need to know the specifics of, is your AI like problematic? Is it like the LLM? Is it problematic? Is it going to cause issues for me? Is it going to be, you know, a compliance problem, whatever like that? So that's what you have to keep in mind. And this is another reason why this is great. By the way, those of you guys on Discord, I can't actually see the chat. So if you do have a question, please ping. So it's going to make a little noise. Please like unmute yourself. I know that makes a noise as well. Or just go ahead and speak up and just let me know and say like, I have a question or something like that. Right now, I cannot see on my screen. So if anybody has a question, I am not seeing anything. So thank you guys.
Good. I haven't seen any questions posted yet.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So continue.
It's nice to be able to see you, but then also I can't read out the whole slide.
Oh, okay.
But
well,
not too important. As long as it's discussed. Yeah, the development 6 of the screen is covered.
Yeah, the stuff that you guys can see. So I actually have the stream, and that's another reason why why I wanted to have this stream on here. Everyone made fun of me for it, but I think that it's going to be helpful because then I can see what you guys are seeing. But with the development, I will actually read that. So no worries, we're going to get into it. I'm trying to run through them, but we do have some slides later on that we're going to go through as well. So just for now, I'm just going to go through all of these, and then once I get to development, I will read the rest of them for you guys. So yeah, like, let me know though. Let me know, okay? I want to make sure that everybody can hear all the information and can see all the information. And if I start talking way too fast and I just start sounding like a melody, please tell me, and then I will slow down. Because I tend to do that. Sometimes I talk too fast and I forget to breathe. So, yeah. All right, continuous monitoring. When you implement and when you deploy an AI solution, you have to actually monitor it for errors and issues and everything like that. And that's another reason why internal controls are so important, because you have to have somebody that is monitoring the errors and somebody who is actually addressing the errors. So, yeah, continuously monitor them. The flagging, opt-out mechanisms for customers is very important, especially in something like GDPR. You have to actually have like these built in. Obviously, I don't live in the EU, so I don't know how ChatGPT works. I don't know what information it's asking, but I know everybody by default is opted into ChatGPT's training thing, where it's like, can I use your information to train other, you know, to train the data so other people can use your data? And everybody's just by default opted into that. So if you guys are interested, I'll show you how to opt out, but I think that is just messy. It's not okay. All right. You know, continuous monitoring, you should be collecting feedback from communities. I'll go through the specifics, but yeah, we're gonna go through the specifics. All right, determination of AI. So if it becomes a situation where AI is causing way too much bias and way too many issues for you, you should have a process for termination. You should have that discussion of, okay, these are the criteria. If any of these hit, we're going to terminate the AI, or we're going to switch to another solution or anything like that. If it is running on an older model, by now, a lot of us have gone through multiple AI versions. So at that point, you do also have to keep that updated, right? You have to make sure that it is thinking as fast, thinking accurately, the different models and stuff. You have to actually keep those in mind as you're going through all the governance checklists. Downstream impact. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, but for those that don't know, downstream is pretty much like, if I'm using it, how is it affecting another team as they're doing their job? So for example, with hiring, there is actually an application that measures your pitch, your facial expressions and all that. And it says if you're going to be a good hire for the company or not, which is, I think, is insane. I'm a nervous smiler, so I'm always smiling like a psychopath. So I would be nervous if I knew that they were using that application. Worse yet, if they are, I can't ask them to tell me why I didn't get the job, because they're not going to be able to. A lot of times when there are these third-party AI...
Most of those are so super biased to white people only.
Of course.
It's a huge problem.
And men as well, so they could even be... This is hypothetical.
Do you play lacrosse?
Do you golf?
What's your opinion on Patagonia clothing?
Oh my gosh, that is way too white.
It's like I know them.
Right.
Yeah, but just like it could be biased against like higher pitch voices just as a hypothetical. I don't know
Exactly.
what those systems are.
So that's the scary thing, right? Like I know of a case where the AI is actually managing people's claims, so they're submitting this to their medical insurance company, and they're saying, hey, would you pay for this or would you not? So they're using AI to see who gets paid for which claim. And there was a situation, this girl posted online about it, which I found hilarious, well, in a sarcastic way. Nobody think that I actually found this amusing. This is sarcastic. What was really just amusing to me is that this girl literally went for her yearly checkup. Nothing else was done. It was literally just a routine checkup, same hospital, same doctor, nothing had changed. And they had rejected it. They were like, yeah, we're not gonna pay for it. And she was like, can you tell me why, please? And they were like, yeah, no, we don't know. But AI sometimes changes its mind. And she was like, okay, can you tell it to change its mind? And they were like, oh, we don't know. It just once every few months it changes and it's like, yes, now we can approve your claim. Ridiculous, right? If that was my experience, I would like contact some organizations and be like, get them. Because I would say that that is very irresponsible. So if you guys know of any companies that have practices like that, please either step forward and talk to them.
Did, actually.
Really?
Yeah. United had that.
Whoa.
And it was designed to auto-deny people too. So that's kind of why that guy got off.
Wow. Okay.
Or part of
See,
the
I didn't
suspected,
keep up with
yeah.
that news.
Yeah, exactly. I
Suspected, sure.
Yeah. Allegedly.
See?
For legal purposes.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's the concern. And so many people, I mean, they hear the news, yes. And I'm really glad that that's out in the news and that's, out there. But so many people don't really realize it. And they don't know the specifics of what's a risk, how they can manage risk, and all that stuff. Hey. By the way, if you're watching the camera and you can't see my dog is right here. I'm not actually smiling at the floor. So, yeah. All right, so we talked about termination. Let's get into development. So as you're developing AI, you want to talk about, I should have practiced this, provenance, I guess, data provenance. Pretty much the origin of the data. So you have to talk about the training model, you have to talk about the bias training, you have to talk about all that kind of stuff. One of the earlier examples of when I was like introduced to AI, one of the earlier examples was, excuse me, and I don't remember where I read it, but it is popular enough that you guys might even remember it as well. It pretty much showed different photos and it didn't really understand the bias. So the AI understood the bias, but the person looking at it didn't understand the bias. So it had a team of different people, and of course it became a racial bias because this person was just submitting pictures and saying detect this and there. So that is one of the first examples of AI that I saw, and it was just fascinating to me that AI can pick up on stuff that people often don't, and that could lead to bias. So having a diverse team really helps. Diverse experiences as well as backgrounds absolutely helps, because that's how you can make sure that you're being fair and you're addressing bias as much as possible, because that's just impossible, like that's irresponsible, especially in the future, especially at this moment. Like that's just gonna be ridiculous. Okay, another thing that I have for development is impact assessments. So kind of like what we talked about, you have to actually make sure that you are good to go, and having a diverse team really helps out with that. But yeah, I hope that helps. Please do stop me if you have any questions or if you would like me to keep going on a specific topic, but I want to get through all the stuff that we have for today, and then at the end we can delve into any specific portion of it that you'd like. All right, so addressing compliance, this is just for the first one, the legal compliance. So non-discrimination, digital divide, intentional discrimination, disparate impact. So those are going to be important keywords for you guys to know. The digital divide is the divide between the people who use AI and who have technological literacy, I guess, and those who don't. So that's the digital divide. Intentional discrimination, I think we all know what that means. And with this disparate impact, I forgot that one, but it is in my notes. So I'm sorry, it's in my notes, but I don't have two screens here, so I can't actually see my notes, but I forgot that one. That's another helpful one to know. Data privacy. So these are some of the series best standards, ethical organizations that you can look into. And I would say take a screenshot of this and literally go through each one. If you spend 5 minutes on just any one of these, you'll learn way too much. So it's going to be helpful. And then as far as the security controls and the compliance goes, these are some of the audits that actually bring up AI or discuss it specifically. So if, for example, you're working with, let's say the SSA, you know, you're doing like a Social Security Administration audit. Let's say it doesn't talk about AI, but you want to be safe. You want to kind of make sure that you have a good framework going. You could get inspiration from all of these. By the way, with NIST, this AI RMF playbook that I kind of based a lot of this on, they don't actually say that that's a requirement. It's just a guideline, just with anything else with NIST, it's a guideline. So anything else that you'd like to submit to them as a feedback, criticize them or applaud them or even talk to them about additional concerns that they haven't addressed, you could actually do that. They have an email address and I'll share it at the end of the presentation. So you could email them and say, hey, I use your framework and this is the feedback I have, or I'm not using it, but blah, 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 whatever you'd like to say. But yeah, security controls, I would say these are also great because what a lot of people miss is they do want to do the right thing. They don't have a good framework for it. So I would recommend these controls as well. I'm very well aware these are not considered security controls, but that was the best category that I could fit those in. So yeah, nobody come after me. Implementing internal controls, right? So we talked about internal controls a lot. The chain of command we talked about. And here's what I'm gonna say. You could take a picture of each one of these and then I will read the internal and third party systems because I know it's not showing up on stream. But you could take a picture and you could make sure that each of these are addressed. Keep in mind, this is not an exhaustive list that you guys might have to fine tune it to your organization. But this is still a very good list. So if this is all you have set up, you're ahead of so many different companies. Is someone playing basketball out there?
I believe a scooter is probably being beaten to death.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Make sure we get that recorded.
I know. A scooter's being beat to death. Oh. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Okay. Oh, all right. So one thing that I wanted to emphasize with chain of command is, you know how over here it says internal and external stakeholders? We know what that means, right? Like if you're working in any kind of like corporate structure, you know that a stakeholder is anybody that's pretty much involved with any process at any point, right? Another part that I wanted to kind of talk about is the AI actors. AI actors are people directly responsible for part of the AI maintenance or bias training or anything like that, right? But the stakeholders are just whoever that might be interested about what's going on. So customers could be stakeholders. So kind of keep that in mind with this. They do change the definition a little bit. By the way, the definitions that I share with you guys are stuff that I've actually verified to make sure that they're like the industry terms and the industry definitions. For example, AI actors and stakeholders, I thought it was just interchangeable, but it's not. So I wanted to make that distinction. Okay, when you're having like internal controls made and everything like that, you do want to define AI. So the key terms, if it affects different roles, yes, make it a role specific kind of training. So, so that it's going to be actually helpful to them. You want to classify AI systems. Like I said, the usage of it, you do actually have to kind of identify what it's being used for. So yeah. Aim to foster public trust, classify AI systems. I'm trying to see which one of these aren't really user-friendly so I can explain those a little bit more. But with risk mapping, measurement processes, model testing and validation processes, sure. We're gonna get into risk mapping a little bit later, but pretty much all you wanna make sure is you know what the risks are and you have gone through different measures to make sure, for example, it's not biased. If it is biased, how do you retrain it? How do you fix that? There was a very cool term for it, but then there is, I forgot the testing, but pretty much you do parameter washing, something like that.
Oh, I was gonna say like the human value.
Yes, human in the.
Human in the loop.
Yeah, human in the
Human
loop.
in the loop,
Yes.
okay.
So for those of you guys that aren't familiar with human in the loop, what it does is it's pretty much, yes, AI is giving this output, but there is a human reviewing that to make sure that it is accurate and that there's no problem. And if there is a problem, they let somebody else know. But all of those have to be clearly defined, because even in like basic situations, a lot of people don't even know how to report security incidents in their organization, even something as basic as that. So yeah, it's good to kind of have that documented. Yes?
Yeah, I don't want to go into too much depth, but how do you evaluate human in the loop? Because I could have Greg, the brain damaged janitor, just say yes to everything the AI says, and that's technically a human in the loop. So is there an evaluation scheme for when the human in the loop is deemed as competent to actually make decisions?
So that wasn't discussed in any of the documentation, which I think is a little sad, but I think it's one of those things, personally, that's what I think. I think that it's one of those things that depends on an organization's integrity. Like, for example, if I was a CEO of an organization, I wouldn't have, John Doe, like janitor, kind of monitoring these systems. As of this point, there are some companies that are unfortunately hiring people that are not well qualified to, perform certain things on the AI system. So that's where we're seeing a lot of the issues and news articles come out. But
you can definitely just do it by injecting errors.
Yeah, I think also like the human in the loop is to some degree more about accountability rather than risk management, kind of like you said with like the Air Canada thing. Like the first thing that strikes me about that is that the court ruled that like Air Canada was not responsible, which is
yeah.
Well, I thought they ruled that Air Canada was. Did it get
I might have misheard that.
I thought that they said that it wasn't.
Either way, the Air Canada decision is actually tangential to my point, which is just more that like human in the loop is about introducing accountability into the equation to some degree, right? Even if you aren't, like, you should ideally be hiring people who are qualified to make these decisions without the intervention of an AI tool, in my opinion. But even if you aren't, you can at least point at a person, and that has much more like case law and legal precedent behind it that you can point to in order to have a structure of accountability. And if you're including those other things like a clearly defined chain of command, you can have those sort of information chain of custody that happens.
I'm interested, like you're absolutely right, but I think in that case they did rule that United Canada wasn't responsible for it.
No, they did rule that they are responsible.
They are?
Because an AI counts as part of your documentation.
Okay. So I'm gonna review what I read, because I thought that it wasn't, and so I was like, that is like, who do they pay to make that a precedent, because from that point on any AI company can just benefit off of that. That's why it was significant for me.
I can't see any appeals, but the event in February of 2024 says they're reliable. They could have appealed it and succeeded it, but there's no errata that's been added to this article.
I'll review it, because all I was thinking is, wow, like other companies are going to take advantage of this, they're just going to eliminate their responsibility in the entire cycle, I guess. Okay, I'm going to review that. Yeah. Okay. Incident response we talked about. Incident response is pretty standard, so I didn't include that many discussion points for it. But yeah, like the security incident response, like it's already being done. Just incorporate AI into it. All right, internal and third-party systems. So here are some of the things that you want to keep in mind with internal and third-party AI systems. Okay, align to existing legal standards and industry norms and best practices. Include currently deployed and third-party AI systems. Model outputs should be consistent with values and principles of the organization. So you want to make sure that like for example, if you're an organization that is helping people with disabilities, you want to make sure that they're not being discriminated against. That would just, and even if you're not exclusively, even if an organization isn't exclusively created to help with people with disabilities, they still should make sure that it's not, biased improperly, That's not gonna be correct. All right, how will the appropriate performance metrics, such as accuracy of the AI, be monitored after the AI is deployed? And then how much distributional shift or model drift from the baseline performance is acceptable? So you pretty much want to kind of make these discussions. You want to discuss them with the software engineers. This is part of the things that, somebody tells you these details. You want to ask the questions, and you want people that are engineers and stuff actually explain this stuff to you.
I would say maybe more like a machine learning specialist.
Oh.
Software engineers don't tend to know that much about AI systems and how they work.
Don't they code it?
No.
Not all software engineers, no.
Oh.
Most do not.
Yeah.
Most don't.
I've been going through LinkedIn and stuff trying to figure out, the job structure of people who work in AI, and it did say
machine learning specialist or
oh,
data scientist.
okay.
So
Yeah, data
like
scientist would probably
Yeah.
be their actual role name on LinkedIn.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
because
There's
they're
lots of machine learning engineering.
True.
Machine learning is the title for it.
yeah.
Good to know.
Because as you identified, there's a lot of large models that are made by the big companies, and they'll just post APIs that the developers will just call. They'll just call out to, and that'll be their AI involvement.
That's it? Wow. I saw some jobs for AI and software engineer, and I was like,
those people will. That kind of depends. In my experience,
Interesting.
So I do have a background in robotics, so it's tangential, but I've also just with the tech drought recently been applying to fucking everything.
Yeah.
But pardon my French, I guess. Anyway, so AI software engineer can be just like working with those APIs. Granted, I actually don't know if many actually do end up making their own models. I think it is more working with APIs now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think it's probably 90-10.
Yeah.
If you were to just pick a random person,
Okay.
90% they're probably just calling out to APIs, either put up by Meta, whoever.
Oh.
And then 10% of the time, if it's more like data scientist, then they're like, no, I am crunching the data, doing the analysis, writing the R to make this thing crunch.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
what a
like,
data
the data scientists
scientist.
are the ones writing the training. Procedures.
Pipelining.
Yeah.
So if I have, for example, let's say I am a manager and I'm trying to figure out how much distributional shift or model drift from the baseline performance is acceptable. That's going to be a data scientist.
More likely, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you, guys.
And they'll be able to actually quantify for you how much of a drift actually means what
Yeah.
in performance terms.
Yeah, that is a
yeah.
data scientist.
I couldn't find a standard. So typically, I couldn't find what would be a good figure, like in any of the documents. And so that was a little disappointing, but I am going to keep looking because even if it's not.
a huge knowledge barrier, honestly.
It is.
Because like for a data scientist, most of them are like math majors.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like the math behind that is hard.
Yes.
Like you're talking like, multivariable calculus or just statistics and probability.
It's mostly statistics.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And linear algebra of doom.
Linear
Linear algebra is amazing.
See,
I love linear algebra.
That's the biggest problem right now.
Have you
And
done linear
so,
algebra with tensors before?
see, like anybody that's in like IT and cybersecurity and stuff, they should have some understanding of this AI stuff. Like I said, I worked in GRC and I didn't know who I'm even supposed to ask. I've never worked with an organization where they have such a big, like huge AI team that I can just be like, hey, you have multiple AI employees, like AI related employees, meaning like, the data scientists and the machine learning engineers and all that.
Well, that's what we were kind of talking about earlier. The technological advancement of AI over the last 8-ish years has been pretty consistent, but it's mostly academia.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of people doing the math, crunching the numbers, doing like AI models. And then recently it's a very large business thing, and as a result, people are using APIs in order to say, oh, we're doing it for business, but they don't really care about the underlying technology, so they're not hiring an army of data scientists to make your own model because that's expensive.
Right.
They might be, what they might be doing depending on how specialized they are, and this is basically, I would group this under the 90% of the people who use APIs, but they might just be like pulling a data set
Yes.
out of like some paper.
Probably, that's what
and then
yeah.
like training it on their own, and then like trying to fine tune it to their needs. That is something that's happening.
That does
That's what I've
happen
read as well.
More commonly, but normally when they do that, they're using common libraries.
Yes.
Like TensorFlow or
Oh.
something similar. So they're not 100% API calls, but they're
No.
one step removed at best.
Right, but they're not like doing like they're not like assembling the data sets. They might be
No.
doing some cursory like. Anyway, yeah, I think this
And-
might actually be getting a bit out of scope.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, we're getting to the technical side.
But yeah, Harvard has a really good library. They just trained a whole bunch of stuff. So that's where I got the idea of, oh yeah, like it's been such a pain to train these models and stuff. So, you know, that's where I was like, oh yeah, what Harvard is doing, other people are gonna use it to like, you know, monetize it and stuff like that. So, but yeah, please keep it going. That's why I kind of have a short kind of slide presentation, because any of these points that you guys are making are very helpful, and I'm learning as well. So please bring it on, and then feel free to call me out, because I do want to make sure that if I'm doing another presentation, it actually is accurate and it looks good. So that's why I also included a feedback thing at the end, so you guys can let me know anything you want to let me know.
But to sort of bring that back into kind of the compliance framework, which
Yes.
is what you're trying to bring us into.
Yeah.
As a result, the knowledge base is very sparse, and very few people are that knowledgeable about it. Right,
Yep.
and so even engineers who are working with it directly very rarely know these
How they work.
granular controls and how it even works sometimes.
Yeah, and
Or
you
what
know,
a tokenizer is.
yeah,
And any of it.
right. And the biggest problem that I've
It's
seen.
something that makes it a crypto token.
It creates a link to.
Isn't that what you get at DEF CON? There's a tokenizer and you get tokens at DEF CON?
It adds the words to the bit chain. That
Right.
Then you feed the AI.
And-
And then you get it.
Right? Like, that's the frustrating part. And from what I've noticed, a lot of times, not a lot of times, but I've seen it a decent amount of times, where, you know, sometimes in the organization, you're wondering, how is this person doing this thing? You know, like, how are they in charge of this thing? In my past, I've seen that sometimes managers don't even know what the right questions are. So they hire someone because they have AI on their resume, and they're like, yes, you do know about AI. And and so that's a big problem. So I feel like
I
need.
was hired to build an AI solution, and then all I was doing was fixing people's doorbells. So yeah.
See? And so
I'm like, I'm out.
Right? Like, what that depends on is, like, I feel like there should be a framework to actually, for HR people as well as managers, to understand how to actually properly evaluate someone, because it just happens way too often for us to ignore it, you know? So that's the only way that we can actually fix a lot of these and actually move it forward, you know? But yeah, thank you for the discussion, and I would, honestly, after this, let's chat and bring it on. I'm sure you guys have read through this already, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. And this word that you guys can't see is just information. So explanatory, visualizations, and information. There are a few of other slides where it's going to be more of an open discussion on those slides, because I do need you guys' information, because I couldn't find enough stuff on those slides. So please bring it on. But yeah, risk tolerance, this is a very standard formula for risk tolerance and risk determination. But pretty much the main one that I discussed was like a few slides ago, the one that had 4 different cards on it, and it explained different, like, for example, if a system is specialized, if a system is a third party or anything like that. I would say taking that, you could kind of couple it with this. And this just says life cycle of an AI system at the end of the line over here. But yeah, this is all very self-explanatory. I'm trying to see if there's anything additional I would like to share on here, but it's just very, very basic. I would say for the frequency, you know, like the impact assessments and everything like that, the frequency, it didn't really explain how often you should do an assessment and all that stuff, but I would say at the very minimum, maybe once a year. At the bare minimum should be reevaluating at once a year or something. with the evaluation as well as like the impact assessments and stuff. This is one of the ones that I wanted to kind of share with you guys, the AI management roles. So pretty much the AI actors, you know, like we discussed earlier. You guys should have these roles defined. Even if this is not the job position, you do want to like identify who's going to be in charge of this. So with product management and project management, NIST did literally said, sorry you guys, I'm getting ahead of myself. NIST literally mentioned all of these rules. This is copy and pasted from NIST documentation. I didn't change a thing. But I did have thoughts on product management as well as project management, because from what I saw even on LinkedIn, there are some job titles out there that are specifically AI product management and AI project management. Personally, I don't think there's that many of them. So I think somebody general would just do these. But yeah, oversight functions are going to be stuff like HR and people like that, like GRC and people like that, who are just making sure the compliance is met and all that stuff. Let's see. Okay, let's go. Sometimes, sorry, I forgot to mention, with these, sometimes it is going to be a team that's going to be handling the responsibilities. It's not going to be just one person, but that's what organizations have to determine. And on that, there's no documentation either. So if an organization is trying to determine if a job requires 6 people or 1 person, they have no idea. So I think that should also be addressed. Okay, provenance. So the origin of the data that you're actually taking. So for example, you have to ask about the source, the transformations, labels, constraints, the metadata. They have some other really good bullet points that they included in documentation. I'll be happy to share that with you. But at the very least, like, these were the main ones that they discussed. So at the very least, managers should be asking about these information, or would a data engineer, like a data scientist, ask these, or a machine learning engineer ask these? Who would be responsible in evaluating these?
That just depends on the organization, honestly.
Okay.
I'd say data scientist, like,
yeah, a data scientist is gonna have way more knowledge and like about where the data set came from. If it's like maybe there's a new term called data laundering, because of the amount of like artists that their images went into training the what is it, like Stable Diffusion and other things like that.
Yeah, the line data set,
yeah.
But there's no laws or anything like that, or any like regulations around it yet, because it's just such a new system that the regulations can't keep up with the technological advancement. And that's one issue that we're going to have as a human species, is even trying to regulate this stuff when our laws are dead slow.
Right.
It's like the Wild Wild West.
And like, what's funny is like, oh yes, go ahead, bring it up.
Okay, I was actually just gonna bring it off the existential level for a moment, just to say that, like, assuming that it's not talking about like generative AI specifically, but something more like a, let's go back to the previous example of like handling healthcare claims.
Yeah.
That like you would have a data scientist looking through essentially like a historical log of claims that had been handled in the past, and then like maybe the labels have already been made, but you know they might decide what would be the labels, what are like the parameters, and so the data scientist would likely be the one going through all that and like assembling it in that way.
And also querying the data as well.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I've literally been posting on LinkedIn. I'm like, is there anybody in my network that even does this kind of stuff or knows about this kind of stuff? No one. So
that was actually literally my previous job. Not for a healthcare company. I was working for a
I would love to
actually.
pick your brain, because yeah, I know like the compliance side of, hey, tell me this, tell me that. I'll write it all down.
We follow HIPAA compliance.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like I know that side of things, but as far as like identifying who should be asked and stuff with AI, I'm not too familiar. With the other stuff, IT and cybersecurity and whatnot, yeah, I know what the job roles are, and it's very clear. With AI, I couldn't find a good authority on stuff like that. So I'm not even sure what job titles are redundant, what job titles require a team instead of a person, you know, like I have no idea. So I would love to pick your brain. But yeah, impact assessments, it kind of still makes sense, you know, mitigation strategies. Anytime there is risk, you should mitigate it. You should, not should, depending on your organization, somebody's going to make that risk decision. But mitigation is definitely a good strategy. So, for example, we're going to keep talking about this. It's going to keep coming up. For example, something like bias, you have to make sure that it is mitigated as much as possible. Don't use zip codes as like one of the primary kind of like identifiers and stuff. That's, you know, even me, a person who's not a software engineer, knows that. So I feel like more managers and CEOs should learn about that.
If only banks would follow that, because I feel like they do have a lot of prejudice against where you live.
And I'm like, it's 2025. Like, this is in the 50s. Like, we all keep saying it, but it's not the 50s. So, yeah, I'm hoping banks are listening.
Now a historical data set.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have a dark sense of humor. But,
No, that's fair. So when you say mitigating risk, are you, like within a risk compliance framework, are you talking about avoidance? Are you talking about
so
minimization of risk? Like, what do you mean there?
So with risk tolerance, there's going to be, what are the 4 categories? So mitigation, avoidance, transference,
and acceptance.
Acceptance, yes. So with mitigation, for example, if you know that your system has a bias, you shouldn't be like, okay, we're gonna accept it, you know. In some cases, yeah, you're gonna have to just accept the risk. There's no other way around it. But I feel like a lot of the information, a lot of the risk that we are finding in AI could be addressed. So with mitigation, all I'm saying is that it should be addressed. So as far as the specific mitigation, I don't have a, you know, one size fits all kind of blanket answer.
Okay.
It just depends on what the risk is that they've identified. But you have to kind of like write down the mitigation strategies.
Okay.
And that way, for example, if nothing else, when a manager that's new and doesn't know what to ask, they could at least refer to it, you know?
No, that's fair.
A lot of this documentation refers to like standardization. So that's why they wrote so many stuff, is at the very least, they want everyone to be on the same page. But yeah, they didn't bring up a specific example. They said mitigation strategies and talked a little bit about what a mitigation strategy is. And I was like, okay.
No, that's very fair. This is a very high level, and it's just to try and get people thinking about risk in the first place.
Yeah.
Right, but addressing risk in that case can very much just be a manager looked at all the risk and said, yep. And that's our strategy.
And even in cybersecurity, sometimes that's what happens.
Yeah.
Like cybersecurity, like I feel like a lot of people are more familiar with it than AI, but even in that situation, sometimes it's not the right decision that was made, but it was made, you know? So, yeah, but you're right. This is very high level. This is just supposed to start a conversation and kind of get people in this frame of mind, you know? All right, what governance entails, this is the rest of it. So the 6 of them that I mentioned in the beginning, this is the rest of them. Third-party systems, we went through it. I have some additional topics that I think should be included on here. So, thorough testing, redundancy, transparency, traceability of the backwards compatibility. Okay, so a lot of these do make sense. The one thing that I've had questions on is backwards compatibility. If you're a student or if you're an enthusiast and you don't know what backwards compatibility is, this is an IT term, this is a cybersecurity term, it's also an AI term, but pretty much what this refers to is, for example, I go to a third-party company and I say, hey, I need this solution, please make that for my system. If I don't specifically tell them what system, which seems impossible, but it did have some, you know, use cases of companies didn't really mention what their systems were running, and so once they got the product, it wasn't actually compatible with their items, with their like servers and computers and stuff. So I don't know much about the API or whatnot, but that might be another concern that they bring up later. I don't know. But in this documentation, you just talked about a company went to a third party and they didn't really specify what system they were using, and because of that, it wasn't backwards compatible. So they were like, This is why you need to make sure that backwards compatibility is a concern, you know. Usability, this is also talking about like user experience. So the use cases for your employees, so they know exactly in what situation they can use AI. Also tell them the tools. So for example, a lot of organizations opted to use Copilot because they couldn't use ChatGPT. But in that case, you should also like teach them about Copilot and stuff, not just say, oh yeah, figure it out, you know. The UI and UX, of course, in every situation, that's going to be very important. You want to make sure that it is something that they can actually use. For example, let's say somebody is a frontline office worker and maybe they're not that technical. They should also be able to use it for their day-to-day tasks, or if there's a standardized reason to use it in the organization, they should just be aware of it and try to use it in that situation. With reporting, you have to identify how do mistakes, risks, and failures, misuses, risks, and failures, who do they get reported to? How do they get flagged? Who do they get reported to? Who's going to be in charge of reviewing them and fixing them? You know, you have to kind of make sure that all of those are good to go. But this was just a suggestion, but the NIST documentation said that if it is like an ethics issue or anything like that, anything AI related, you should refer it to AAIC, which I can bring up their, I forgot what their thing is called, what it stands for.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, AI algorithmic in automation incidents and controversies. So it is AIAAIC.org. Okay. And then MITRE is just handling CVEs and vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So if you do find a vulnerability, you should contact MITRE and let them know.
Not sell it on the dark web.
Or submit it and get a bug bounty for it. But like, you know, in that case it would be like a 0-day or something, so I don't think they're even gonna have a program for it. Yeah. One of them, I don't know if I've gone over it yet. I didn't see it.
Bug bounties first and then.
Right.
So I mean, large international organizations of provenance will buy anything if it's good enough.
Israel will buy anything.
Right. And so with bug bounties, that was one of the suggestions in governance is, you know, with user feedback, if you're talking to certain communities and you're getting their feedback from, you know, using the AI and stuff, you should also have like a bug bounty program and stuff. But so many companies don't, because they don't know what it takes to run one. Like, that's not even like I'm not gonna say regulated. It's not something that's discussed frequently. So I feel like a lot of companies, even if they want to have something done like that, they don't even know how to approach it. They don't know how to make it, you know, risk-free and stuff. And yeah, I'm taking a class on that, because I would think that any organization that I have like a voice in, I would tell them to have a bug bounty if it's proper for the organization. But I do want to like get more educated about the system, because I think it's a great idea to collect feedback and, you know, get your name out there as a company that actually cares about security and stuff.
We can talk after.
Okay. All right, so additional questions to document. These are some of the most general questions that I could find in the documentation. And I think anybody, like, let's say if you're not taking anything away from this presentation, even if this is just the only thing that you screenshot today, I think it's just going to be very helpful. But you want to know when the model was last refreshed, what processes exist for data generation, acquisition, collection, ingestion, staging, storage, transformation, security, maintenance, and dissemination. Some of these are multiple questions rolled into one, just so that I can give you guys all the information. Who is ultimately responsible for the decisions of the AI, and is this person aware of the intended uses and limitations of the analytic? And then How does the entity assess whether personnel have the necessary skills, training, resources, and domain knowledge to fulfill their assigned responsibilities? Sorry, you guys, my accent I have to keep in mind. But the last one says, how has the entity documented the AI system's data provenance, including sources, origins, transformations, augmentations, labels, dependencies, constraints, and metadata? We did cover this a little bit earlier on, but this is just another form of the same question. It's that important, so I wanted you guys to have all the different pieces that it's asking. But yeah, feel free to take a screenshot. Okay. So if you want to stay in the loop, like I discussed, the EU AI Act, you could kind of stay in touch. They have a website. They're very thorough with their documentation. The other thing is NIST AI Risk Management Framework. By the way, this stuff, you could Google it and it brings up the right documentation. So you don't have to keep searching for it. It literally just comes up. There is so much gold information here. It's fantastic. So please go through it. Yeah, and there are different programs. A lot of them you could actually, like when they have requests for comments and stuff, you could get involved and you could actually share information with them. A lot of them, especially for the NIST AI framework, AI Risk Management Framework, they actually do have the email. So I'm gonna see if it's in here. If it's not, I will post that up on LinkedIn. That way you guys could contact them with feedback and comments and everything. Some of the stuff that we discussed today, it wasn't in there at all. It wasn't in any other documentation. For example, the hiring stuff that we talked about or the job descriptions, not that it's their responsibility, but I do trust them. So I hope that they actually have that set up at some point. Okay, which regulations include AI verbiage? So this is federal law, state law, local law, not really local. It's not even state. This is all federal. GDPR is, I believe, EU. And that is state, yeah. FISMA's federal, HIPAA is federal, PCI DSS, SOX is also federal. I'm sure there are other ones, but these are the ones that apply to most organizations and industries that I thought would be helpful to you guys. Personal privacy, okay, this is personally my favorite part of it. LinkedIn uses your information, anything you type and put in your LinkedIn profile to train their own their own AI solution. They didn't specify what part of it, but you could probably, and so you could actually go in there and turn it off. So if you go to your settings, data privacy, data for generative AI improvement, you're gonna see this. So please turn that off if you are worried about your privacy, because when I found out, I was very upset. Nobody ever talks about this. Nobody. I found it out just because I was, scrolling through. That's what I do in my off time.
I wonder if you post about it, whether they'll flag your post and remove it.
Oh, I posted about it. No, it got a lot of likes. No, they didn't remove it. But I posted, I said something like sneaky LinkedIn or something. Like I taunted them a little. I was like, how dare you, The funny thing is I had a LinkedIn profile before they started with this garbage. So I was like, if I currently have a profile with these settings, if you're gonna implement a new thing, please at least let me know, which I'm sure they did in their email of, we've updated our terms of use. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't have a weekend to read that. But this is the kind of stuff that happens when I don't. Google has a lot of information. I didn't know Fitbit was owned by Google, but as soon as I did, I went in and erased my information. That's why I don't wear a Fitbit. I wish I could. I love it, but that's why I don't also have the smartwatches and stuff, because I'm just way too, for example, wearing that at DEF CON, you're just asking to be hacked. I don't think the security on those things is sufficient. But yeah, these are some of the information, some of the details that Google collects about you. If you're looking to turn that off, please do. But also another thing that I would say is with the third-party apps and services. For example, I love Canva. I do have Canva connected to my Google profile. But personally, I don't know what information they're collecting about my profile. I know it popped up when I clicked on connect, And it's all the regular, you know, give me your life story kind of information, but I don't think they're collecting anything beyond that. But even if I wanted to find out, that transparency doesn't exist. Canva doesn't have it, and Google definitely doesn't. Okay, with the recap, we talked about so many words. This is based off of, I think this is only 30 terms, 60 terms, something like that. This is based off of literally everything that I studied. I found this really cool word cloud website, so I just wanted to use it. So the main terms that came up were, of course, AI, data, model. The funny thing for me, and that's why it made me think to do a word cloud, is transparency came up so much. So throughout all these documents, transparency is such a problem for these organizations that they just kept bringing it up. And they said, for example, you want to know the testing situation for transparency. You want to have transparency for your users, for your employees. And so, yeah, these are the other commonly used terms, but like in the information that I reviewed and used to make this presentation. So, yeah. Okay. We are coming towards the end, so I think this is a perfect place for me to ask. If you guys are interested in the AI practitioner AWS certification, it's $100. If you take it before February 15th, you get the early adopter badge, which I think is so cool. That's the biggest reason why I want to take it, because I can just wait and take it forever, but I want to take it before February 15th. So if you guys are interested, I have talked to several people in this group so that I can go ahead and do study sessions with them, and we could all collectively get it before February 15th. But you see how it says 50% off with discount? If you have taken other AWS certifications, this is just going to cost you $50. And I didn't know that was an I didn't know that was an AWS feature. This is what I mean. When I get excited, I talk way too fast. I have to slow myself down. But it just talks about, it literally, like the concepts were AI, ML, Gen AI. It was so basic. So I'm like, let's go, you know? Yes.
But where do you get the training to prepare yourself for the certification?
Jason Dion definitely hasn't caught on, you know? Like, as far as the training for this, I'm going to have to just, please nobody record it. I'm gonna have to raw dog this and figure out where to like get the information. This is such a new thing that I'm like, I have no idea where to even start. But nobody record that, okay? We're gonna keep that out of the stream.
XG boost.
But Security X, that was another certification that I was like, where is the training even? I'm sure AWS has some training resources for this. I'm sure they do.
They normally have like an entire documentation base for you that you could read through if you have, 100 years. And
that's why I know I'm that person. I'm that person. This research.
If you have 100 years, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's very dry.
Who doesn't have 100 years? So that's where I would also like your feedback as well. But before I get to that, what you said is it's very dry. Before I get to that, if you guys are interested in this, I'm Snacks on Discord, and I'm here, so you guys can just literally put it in the general, the general channel or wherever, and just say, hey, I want to take the AI practitioner one. Where's the crazy girl with the dog that actually talked about this, So if you're on Discord, go ahead and put that on there, and I will find you, trust me, with my particular set of skills. And so yeah, if you guys want, let's go. But I do want to take it before February 15th because then the security conferences start, and I'm going to be way too busy.
I'll take it. I'm interested.
Nice. Well, thank you guys so much for attending, and let me actually bring this up. Okay, where is the thing? No, I want that moved up there. Okay, this is gonna be a mess, but that's alright, we're all friends here. Please excuse the weird placement of it.
I just want to build some AI swarms and simulate a brain, bro.
Yes, let's do it. You guys, please take the feedback. This is the QR code for it. Please just scan it and then type in whatever you'd like. If you'd like to see my dog, let me know. But that is for the presentation. So thank you guys for attending. Thank you guys as well in person. And feel free to take this because I do want to know how I could have made this better. The other thing is you said that the training is dry, right? So
oh yeah,
I literally
it's very hard to get into and consistently keep doing it because it's just like super boring. Like if you could make it entertaining and involve other people, sure, it might help.
Yeah.
But I also don't know how, like, if it's even relevant industry-wise for companies, because it's like so new, the AWS AI practitioner thing. So I don't even know if like it would be super valid for like if you were looking for a job. But for like the badge thing, then sure, it's awesome.
It's for me. It cost $50, so it was like a why not thing. Mainly because I would get the what is it, early adopter badge. That's literally the only reason. But I think it's also a good way for someone to be like, yes, I do know about AI beyond ChatGPT. So for example, the MS900, the Microsoft 365 Fundamental Certification, no employer requires it. Not like people don't even know it exists. But I think it's a great way to be like, yeah, I know how to use Microsoft stuff versus, yeah, I passed the certification. I would say if nothing else, it is gonna be like, oh, it's nice that you have that, But it is also a good thing for people to like join our study sessions, even if they're not trying to like take the certification. Another thing that I want to bring up is I actually am aiming to have really interactive kind of presentations. I hate presenters that just stand up there and talk, and I'm like, thank you, I hope you like the sound of your voice, I did do that a lot on here, but that's why I also like you guys to participate in here. That's why I cut down the number of slides. But if I can make it even more engaging, I would love to. But this is what like my biggest aim is I like to take dry stuff that's 300 pages and make it into an hour of training, which we've gone over a little. It's been like an hour and 15 minutes, but I think we've had some really good stuff going in here. So, but yeah, if I can make it more entertaining, I would love to. So any feedback that you guys have, if there was a slide in here that you were like, no, don't have that in there, perfect, I'll take that out next time, but I do like this. I do like training. So I want to make sure that it's helping you guys, because if I'm reading these, I already know these, but I want to like do the training because it helps cement it in my brain, but I also want to share the knowledge because I'm the person that just hated school, So yeah, we don't want a repeat of that,
Big scope.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
I think it'd be cool if you could like implement maybe different versions of learning into your teaching style. I think that would be like super effective too.
I didn't know
if you can do maybe something kinesthetic or auditory, visual, and if you can make it like if you can make some parts of it interactive, that also will improve.
I didn't know how to make this one interactive. With my Microsoft 365 one, there was a lot of that. And I did that last week. So anyone that's interested in it, let me know. I'll do another one. Some people did request an Azure class, so I might do that as well. But I did have different pieces. I had like hands-on demos that you guys could like walk through as I was doing those up there. I did have the visual aspect of click here, click there, click there. And then I did have one video that satisfied the auditory situation. But in my training experience, like so many people are visual, so I aim for having like cool graphics. This was a kind of boring presentation because I didn't have ridiculous animations in the background that like I typically do. But I was like, it's being streamed, so I don't know if people are gonna like Google me if this comes up. Are they gonna think I'm childish? But if it's like just us, yeah, I have ridiculous animations in the background because I'm like, why not? Let's have fun. But yeah, all right. Anything else that you guys would like to add please take the feedback, okay? Like, you don't even have to say nice stuff. I'm not that person. As long as you don't bash my dog, like, yeah, you guys can be honest about your feedback. I want to improve.
On Udemy has the course.
But is he good?
Really good, because I enrolled for the exam. It was supposed to be free. It was free when they launched it, this certificate.
Ah,
So
okay. What's his name?
It's on Udemy. So just type AI, AWS AI practitioner and it will come up.
What? Okay,
Like,
practitioner.
It's shown really
Thank
good
God.
step by step.
Nice. Okay, it's on there as well.
So the first one.
Is it? Oh, is it? What's
Yeah.
that guy's name? Stefan?
Yeah. He has some really good classes on
Interesting.
AWS. Yeah, you can watch the.
Oh yeah. Okay, it's on discount. Okay.
For 4 hours.
I know. Where's my credit card?
Go back to voice. We know how they do.
Right?
But it's really good. It's it's 10 hours. He will teach you, and there's some like practice. I was taking it and I got busy, so I gave up.
Yeah.
But I have to.
You were taking the AI practitioner thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought, yeah.
Before actually they launched it, I got email from Amazon like, hey, we have this certification coming up. So
Yeah.
one of those. That was all. It was free.
He wasn't an early adopter, he was a first adopter.
Yeah, it was actually free.
I love that. See? That's the kind of stuff like we should have like a conversation about that. Okay, this is perfect.
I got busy, so. All right.
Okay. All right, Discord. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any comments? Anything you guys would like to chat about?
I'm trying to
Add music?
We appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you guys. Please share your feedback. It is different for each person. So I do want to do more training. I don't want you guys to sit through it and be like, So please share your feedback. I'm that person. I am gonna bug you for feedback if you don't share it. So please do.
What'll happen is
But yeah, thank you guys for attending. I'm gonna end the stream now, and I'll be around. I'm here in the space if you guys have questions. If not, I'm in here. So my profile is snacks. So 5NCX. I'm literally in this room right now on my phone. So feel free to go through it and send me anything you guys want to send or talk to me or anything like that. Thank you guys for attending. Have a good one, you guys. Bye.
I've been thinking about that.
Probably should have asked.
Yeah. Who wants to cuss? No. Sorry. Sorry.
Should have asked this before they left, but have you run across any kind of worksheet style risk evaluation sheets? So like with a lot of FDA stuff, you can actually get worksheets where it's go through these different values and you can essentially assign new